And my mom said, stop, stop. And she was like, everything you said was exactly how it happened and how I remember it.
Hey everyone, how's it going? It's me, Patricia. If you don't know who I am, my name is Patricia Marie Kay, and I am a clairvoyant psychic medium. I've been doing readings for people since I was a teenager when I started learning tarot cards and tea leaves and how to read palms and learning about astrology and numerology. And now I do readings for strangers now for over a decade. But I have been doing readings for friends and family and anybody that they would bring to me to get a reading done before that. So, like, pretty much over 30 years I've been doing readings now. But one question I get asked a lot is how I discovered my psychic abilities and how I discovered that I have clairvoyant abilities, clairaudient abilities, all the clairs, clairsentience, and I have always been aware of my abilities since I can remember. But I wouldn't say that there is like one particular experience that told me I have this. Although I do have, at least a handful of stories that were definitely pivotal in me discovering it. There's literally been hundreds, if not thousands, of experiences in my life that have proven to me I have these abilities. And honestly, I can remember since a young child, even when I was, learning how to talk, learning um, words, learning how to, still learning basic sentences and things like that. I have memories of talking to adults about, some of the spiritual things I was seeing and spirits I was seeing and things like that, and them looking at me weird, like, that can't happen, like, that's not real, and I could feel that they thought I was making it up, and I remember being confused, like, how come they don't see that, or how come they don't hear that, or how come they, how come they're not picking that up? And so from a young age, I learned fairly quickly that my abilities, not everybody had them, or at least not everybody was willing to admit that these abilities could be real and that I was actually having real spiritual experiences. So I, learned how to kind of keep it quiet, although I am a Sagittarius times 4 with Mercury on my ascendant. So I'm not sure how quiet I kept it, but I did learn, that not everybody believed in this, and I had to be selective about who I talked about it fairly early on. But one story that, one experience that really did was like one of these pivotal moments that I'm talking about that really made me accept my abilities because I did have a hard time throughout my life accepting this. As you can imagine, it's not always easy being psychic or a medium. So has been, a tough journey at times. I've had some breakdowns over this, my existential crises, my asking God a million why questions, that sort of thing. Um, but in my road to learning to accept this, 2007 was a very major year for me. And when I finally did, I guess, label myself as a medium and realize that I am a medium and that I'm like, holy shit, I'm a walking Ouija board, what the fuck kind of thing. Um, and although I was aware of these abilities before, 2007 was like major, like specific psychic information, more specific than it's ever been. I was picking up world events that would come true on the news. I don't watch the news, but my ex at the time did, and he would, I would tell him about the messages I was getting, and he would confirm, like, "Oh my God, this came on the news today. You were talking about that the other day." Things like that were happening like at a very higher rate than ever in my life. Like it was on a daily basis. Suddenly, it was on constantly. And I had been getting messages about family members that were passed um, that I could not have known the details that these spirits were bringing forth from any other means otherwise. So just some backstory here. Like, I am First Nations, if you didn't know, if you couldn't tell already. So as you may know, there is, a lot of intergenerational trauma in First Nations. My own grandmother went to residential school. So there is a disconnect between, those generations that went to residential school and my generation, my mom's, who we didn't go to residential school. And so a lot of the teachings, things like that, were lost or not passed down. And that generation, they're throughout my life growing up, like, we didn't talk about traumatic things in my family growing up. Like, my grandmother didn't talk about all of the traumatic things, and so there was a lot of family history and things that I didn't know, like, a lot. And I knew, like, very vague details about my mother and father's growing up. Very, very vague. Like, I knew very little about their growing up. Like, they just didn't talk about things the way that we do now. Not as open about things. So my Uncle Ricky passed away when I was about 7 or 8 years old. And he was one of the spirits that was convincing me, this is real. This is not in your head. This is not schizophrenia and just, a random voice, like a psychotic break. This is real. And so these family spirits were convincing me, to, phone my mom and dad and, confirm details that the spirits were bringing forth, to kind of prove to me that it was real, because, of course, when this was happening to me, I'm thinking, am I crazy? Which I am, but crazy in a cool way. But I was, of course, you have to wonder if you're having a psychotic break or if it's real. I do have a very logical, scientific brain, rational brain, as well. So it took a lot of proof from spirit for me to really accept this. And he told me, at that time my parents lived far away, and he told me to phone my mom. This is real. I have a message for her. Phone your mom. And so obviously at this time, my family and my ex at the time, they were very aware of my spiritual experiences that I was going through, because I was very open about it. And of course, I had to make sure I wasn't crazy, and let my close friends and family know, like, what I was going through, just in case, right? And so I phoned my mom when she was done work, when I knew she was done work, gave her some time to wind down. My Uncle Ricky had been bugging me all day, and so I told my mom, Uncle Ricky has a message for you right now. Is it okay if I pass this message on? He's been bugging me all day, and of course she was apprehensive and like, okay. And, emotional, it's obviously, that's a strange thing for your daughter to phone and say, but again, they knew what I was going through. And so his message was, do you remember when we were little and we used to have races on the farm? And right away she started crying as soon as I said that. And because I'm clairsentient, I can feel feelings. I could tell emotion in her voice, but I could also feel her feelings that this rang true to her or connected somehow. And I started crying because, it's my uncle coming through, who was passed, who I didn't get to know as an adult here. And so it was emotional for me as well. And he said, remember when we were on the farm and we used to have races, and I used to make fun of your short legs. We used to make fun of your short legs. And she's bawling, I'm crying already. And I would always like trick you and make you think that you were going to win. But at the end, I always had to be you every time. And it was so funny to see you get all riled up and mad that you lost and you just about won. And we would laugh. And remember that time we were playing hide and seek, and you were the seeker, and we were hiding on top of the shed on you and trying not to laugh, watching you run around the shed like a chicken with your head cut off. And she's like crying,
and I'm crying. I'm crying right now, getting emotional. I don't want to get emotional talking about this, but I can't help it. And we were like trying so hard not to laugh. You looked so funny running back and forth around the shed. And then remember, we jumped down in front of you. And he's like, I never saw somebody jump so high in my life. And then he started laughing. And then my mom was like bawling. And she's like, Patty, you gotta stop. And I'm crying. I'm like, what? Like, because I'm not all knowing. Like, it would be impossible for me to be all knowing. I'm still a human. So I'm getting these things as they're coming, and I have to cognitively, process things as well as a human as I'm getting the psychic information. And so I'm still kind of in the dark, even though, he had described these stories very well. To me, I'm like, it doesn't mean anything to me because I still didn't have the validation that these things actually happened. And my mom said, stop. And she was like, everything you said was exactly how it happened and how I remember it. And like, my mom would have been like, between the ages of like, 7 and 10 when he was telling these stories. And she had never told us stories like this from her childhood. She had a pretty traumatic childhood, so again, there wasn't a lot of stories. And so there's no way I could have known these specific things, making fun of her short legs, the hide and seek story, them being on the shed, hiding on her, jumping down in front of her, and her jumping up high in the air. And so, of course, she said everything happened exactly the way it was. And that was, I would say, like, yes, a major event experience that I was like, holy crap, like, this is real. And, there's many, many more experiences that I'm going to talk about in other videos, but that's probably one of my favorites. Especially because my Uncle Ricky, he was such a cool guy and so nice. And I didn't get to know him as an adult, so hearing that side of him from when he was a kid was really cool. And he's still one of the spirits that is like kind of like one of my family spirit guides that comes around. And yeah, so one of the moments that you can't make this stuff up moments, and something that I'll always remember, but definitely was like a huge validation for me of my abilities and just how specific the information is that I pick up. And that kind of information, those kind of stories come up in my readings when I'm doing mediumship. So, yeah, I love my job. I love what I do. And yeah, so I just thought I would share one of the cool stories from my development as a psychic and medium. But anyway, I hope you guys are all having a great day, great evening, whatever time you're watching this video. And again, my name is Patricia Marie Kay. I'm at Canmore Rocky Mountain Medium on Instagram, Patty Patricia MK on YouTube and TikTok, and RockyMountainMedium.wordpress.com is my website. Yeah, so follow me, subscribe, click the like button, comment. It helps with the algorithm. And thanks for watching. And to all my lovely clients and followers, I love you. I hope you guys are all having a fabulous night. Talk soon. Bye.